Patrick Stockman pocketed his sunglasses into one of his pockets as he walked into the Dowger Memorial Hospital. Stockman glanced around, staring at the various nurses walking around the hospital until he was able to decide on one. "Hello, do you know where I can find Steve Grunwald?" The dark-haired nurse pointed down the hallway. "He's 2 rooms down and on the right. Thank you." Patrick followed the nurse's directions and came upon a small room that didn't contain much more than a hospital bed, privacy curtain, and a couple machines that kept the man alive. Stockman looked down at the man. He certainly matched the picture of Steve Grunwald he had been shown earlier, although he was worse for wear. Stockman closed the privacy curtain, walked over to the window, and pulled down the shades as the man in the bed slept. As Stockman was moving a chair towards the bed, he made a scraping sound against the floor, which woke up the room's other occupant. The occupant of the hospital bed jolted upright when he saw Patrick Stockman. Who are you?" "I'm Agent Stockman, FBI," he said as he reached into his suit pocket and brandished his FBI ID. What do you want with me?" "I want to hear your story, Mr. Grunwald. You ought to be really good at telling stories, considering you write for the Moonlight Report." "Fine. 2 months ago, I bought a laptop off of Craigslist. It was already a few years old by the time I purchased it. I can't recall the brand, but I think it was Acer. It's a lot more bulkier than the laptops they make now. So if you bought it off of Craigslist, then you would have met with the seller. Where did you meet?" "Well, we met up at a Walmart parking lot and did the exchange there. Security and all that." "This is very important, Mr. Grunwald. Describe the seller to me to the best of your ability." Well, the man that sold me the laptop was Caucasian, bald and bearded. The beard was something that you expect a stereotypical lumberjack to have. I'm gonna need more to work on than that." "What about his height and weight?" "He was tall and heavy, at least 6.5 feet or 240 pounds, I guess. I felt intimidated by him. Had we not been meeting in a well-lit parking lot during the day, I wouldn't have stopped and traded with him. Although he's polite and cordial, his voice sounded off and constantly changed." "He sounds like quite the weirdo. Tell me, why would you still follow through with a trade when dealing with a weirdo like that?" "It isn't like I wanted to, but I was pretty desperate for the laptop because I had a story to write about a bad oil spill, which would necessitate some travel. Oh, and he also wore overalls. I paid him the $500 and paraded that there wasn't any child pornography on the laptop. How weird the man came off as, and went home." Steve Grunwald paused. His mouth hung agape, and his eyes began to shut on their own accord. Patrick snapped his fingers near Steve's face and placed a hand on his right shoulder. "Come on, Steve, stay with me. You got a story that needs to be told." Where was I?" "You just finished describing the man who sold you the laptop and had made it home." I got home and charged it. After it finished charging, I had turned it on and began typing. It was during that first session that I noticed a strange hissing sound almost every time I struck a key. I brushed it off and figured that it must have been the computer working extra hard to try to keep cool. Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to make sure that Steve was doing okay. Mr. Grunwald is fine. He's getting a tad bit sleepy though, so I'm going to bow out pretty soon. And I just want to finish listening to his story and then I'll be on my way, miss." Everything's fine, Maggie." Maggie nodded, apologized for the intrusion, and shut the privacy curtain which left the 2 men alone again. "Please continue, Mr. Grunwald." "As I said before, my laptop got to where it would overheat all the time. Things were steadily escalating to the point where I was saving my work every couple minutes, and towards the middle of the 2nd month, I had resolved to use my next payday to buy a new laptop." Grunwald began to cough. Blood stunk out with the coughs and wound up on his bed sheets. Patrick Stockholm reached into his suit and pulled out a handkerchief which he used to wipe up the blood from Grimwald's mouth in his bedsheet. "You're doing good, Steve. We're almost done. Hang tight," Patrick Stockholm stated as he ducked out of the room. He returned a moment later with a cup of water in hand and handed it to Steve Grimwald. He waited patiently as the sickly man drank the entire cup. "Thanks." "Sure thing. You can pay me back by finishing your story." "Right. I was nearing the completion of my article on the oil spill when disaster struck. The hissing grew louder than it had ever been before, and it sounded like it was coming from my left." Steve froze up and tears began to flow from his eyes. He was clearly traumatized. Patrick stood up and put a reassuring hand on Steve's shoulder. There. You handled yourself really well, Steve. Please, try to keep going." I looked over to the left of my laptop, just in time to see a small black snake lunge and sink its fangs into my left hand. The hand I was typing with at the time. It had been living in the laptop the entire time? Yes, I had a snake living inside my laptop. I don't recall much after that. I barely remember fishing my phone from my pocket and calling an ambulance. I was hallucinating pretty badly by the time I was in the emergency room. Let me guess. The species of the snake was undiscovered one, and because of that you weren't able to receive any antivenom? Yes, it cost me a lot. Steve paused and lifted his left arm up from underneath his bedsheet, revealing a stump where his left hand had been. Antibiotics only go so far when dealing with necrotic venom. It could have been worse. It could have been my dominant hand. The doctors told me that it likely crawled in there to keep warm, as snakes tend to like that. Sometimes I wonder if that man had put that snake in there. That's what we believe to be the case, Mr. Grimwald. The individual you described matches with that of a known bioterrorist who had been modifying wildlife and releasing it to the United States ecosystem in an effort to destroy it. Thanks for your help. Sure, Steve paused. His eyes started to shut out against his own will, and blood began to pour out from his nose. Agent Stockholm pulled out a handkerchief and used it to wipe the blood off Grimwald's nose, but more blood shot out of it. Stockman threw open a privacy curtain and began to shout for a nurse. Stockman didn't stick around to see the end result, which he knew all too well.